He doesn't specify whether that would be via a trade or via he just gets cut and winds up in Houston.
And that's because Houston's regime was the regime that drafted Jimmy.
Exactly.
But that flies right in the face of what Lovie Smith has said, which is that they're going with Davis Mills.
Right. And so maybe he comes in and he's the veteran backup, somebody that they can go to if Davis Mills struggles. I mean, isn't it hard for you? I mean, it's hard for me right now with Garoppolo still not being physically cleared to envision him starting anywhere. Like to me, that ship is for now sailed at the beginning of the season. Maybe in the, he goes somewhere in the middle of the year, he takes over, but like Jimmy Garoppolo is not going to be starting for anybody week 1, right?
Well, I don't know about that. I mean, he's not going to start for the Texans, I don't think, because I think the Texans have a quarterback that's better than Jimmy. I think Davis Mills showed it in the second half of the year that he's a decent NFL quarterback that is going to be better in year 2. So I think Davis Mills, if he got into an open competition with Jimmy, would beat Jimmy out. I think he's just a better quarterback, better arm, better mobility, less baggage, more accurate. I think he's better every way you can slice it. But as far as no spot where Jimmy could start, is he sitting behind Drew Lock and Geno Smith suddenly? I don't think so. Is he sitting behind Jacoby Brissett in Cleveland? I don't think so. So maybe those are the two spots that I view as, potential Jimmy could go there and theoretically be the starter.
Go there, win the job in camp, assuming he actually gets the opportunity to take the job in camp.
Yeah. I mean, don't you think he's better than Jacoby Brissett? Don't you think he's better than Geno Smith?
Yes, Andrew Lock. I think he's better than Drew Lock as well.
Yeah.
And I'm kind of with you on Houston. I would rather, since Davis Mills started a bunch of games last year and looked pretty good at times, I'd want to see what I have there if I'm the Texans for an extended stretch over having a competition or turning it over to Jimmy Garoppolo unless he really, really, really struggled throughout the course of a first half of a season. So I'm kind of with you on that. Where are you on the Seattle component as far as I would not want to, and I know everybody's gone back and forth. I would not want to gift wrap Jimmy Garoppolo to the Seattle Seahawks if I'm the Niners.
Oh, man, I think it's a nightmare situation if you're John Lynch. What if Seattle has owned the Niners? Now, a lot of that has been Russell Wilson. But what if Jimmy shows up there and Kenneth Walker, the rookie out of Michigan State, has a monster rookie year, which I think is fully possible. He's a terrific young running back. Let's say they run the ball and play decent defense and ask Jimmy, hey, let's operate on a pitch count and we'll keep the ball out of the air and kind of play conservatively. What if they beat the 49ers in head-to-head matchups? What if Trey gets hurt or Trey's ineffective? And now suddenly you've handed Jimmy to a division rival, maybe that division rival, even in a year where the over-under is like 6 wins. What if Seattle wins a couple extra games? Suddenly they're at 8 or 9 wins. What if they get into the playoffs? What if you don't? And then you've handed them Garoppolo and Lance hasn't necessarily blossomed. I mean, you're maybe riding your ticket right out of the job, despite what Amazon may have thrown in your lap to go there. You may be out of a gig if Jimmy winds up in Seattle and they go to the playoffs and you don't, and Trey's not good. There's a chance that Lynch, I think, might be gone by the end of the year, and I don't think that's even that wild of a statement.
Well, I mean that's the worst case scenario. I think the picture you paint there, but it's. I mean, look, you lost to Seattle twice last year.
Yeah,
I mean that was the difference between the 49ers being in the mix really legitimately for the division, which they were not, and having to win week 18 and down in LA just to get in the tournament.
Well, then the other speculation is, well, are they going to cut him or are they going to actually get something in return? Well, if they knew that there was nothing out there for them to get and they were just in a release mode, I sure as heck, if I were them, wouldn't release him right now. I'd wait until the last possible second. Why? Because why give him an opportunity to, learn their offense and learn their system?
You want him to fail. You never say it, but you want him to fail.
Yeah. So, I mean, especially if you have to cut him, but they've maintained so many times, and Shanahan at the last minute can't maintain. He will not be cut. Shanahan has said, he's a notorious bad liar. So I kind of agree with that. I think Shanahan's probably being somewhat truthful. I think they have no interest in cutting him. I think I think they must feel like they have some offer on the table. But then there's is it possible they could bring him back? Wouldn't that be inviting the circus to town? It's and then we're all speculating on because we don't know for sure if Trey can play. But let's forward this discussion a little bit further and say that for the sake of this discussion, that Trey can play and play really well. All right, let's say he plays really well and he looks like a world beater, he looks like a young Mahomes, but suddenly he goes down for 7 or 8 weeks in the middle of the season, and Nate Sudfeld is just good enough to get you beat every Sunday. Well, is the fan base going to be okay? Heck, forget the fan base. Is Dr. John going to be happy if they have to give away another season because of quarterback injuries? Probably not. I would imagine that could be a bone of serious contention from the ownership and the fans. So, it's not just about can Trey play. Maybe Trey can play, but who's your number 2 quarterback if he goes down? Maybe they see real value in having Jimmy sit there. I look at it as a colossal distraction, but maybe they feel it's workable.
I just go back to Jimmy Garoppolo's press conference at the end of the year, and the tone of that press conference was
adios.
I did this once. I don't want to do it again. Like,
right.
You all want to move on and have Trey Lance be the quarterback, and that's fine. You drafted him. He was the number 3 pick. It's on your timeline for me to not be around. But to me, there was the undertone of, y'all screwed me this year. I made the best of it. We damn near went to a Super Bowl. You owe me to get me the hell out of here. And bye-bye.
And that was when he was operating as the 1.
Yeah.
In this new scenario, he'd be operating as the 2.
So to me, for that's the reason to me that you couldn't have both of them on the roster. And the other part of it is the fact that, look, if Trey Lance is good, this doesn't matter. But if Trey Lance isn't good immediately, there are a lot of players in that locker room that really had Jimmy Garoppolo's back and believed that they could win games with Jimmy Garoppolo. To me, the worst case scenario for the 49ers would be Jimmy Garoppolo comes back at the 2 and you have him as this emergency backup, but then Trey Lance isn't quite ready, and you've got a bunch of guys in that locker room, veteran players who have won with Jimmy Garoppolo, who are thinking, well, wait a minute, like, he would give us a better chance to win, talking about number 10. Then what? You go back to him again, and Trey Lance is on the bit. Like, to me, that creates a lot of problems for your young quarterback in terms of his development. We're throwing a lot of different scenarios out there, but I wouldn't want that scenario either.
Yeah, I hear that. Then there's one other one. I mean, let's say let's say there's no offers for Jimmy Garoppolo, and they're forced to release him, and they're just going to wait because they don't want Seattle to have any advantage and Jimmy learning their system. And maybe Seattle's like, we're not going to trade you anything because we're just waiting for you to release him. But what if you release him in the 11th hour and all those veteran players? Because the thing that stands out to me is the incredible support that Jimmy has in the room, for considering how flawed he's demonstrated himself to be. But there's a lot of support for Jimmy in that room. And I guess I shouldn't be totally shocked by that. They've won a lot of big games. They've won playoff games. They've won road playoff games. And this guy's done it. Or this guy's at least been there as they're doing it. But what if you release him in the 11th hour, like after camp or day 1 of camp? And what if there's all of a sudden a microphone in George Kittle's face and he's like, you know what? Our front office did Jimmy wrong. And what if that narrative starts going around? You know what? The Niner front office did Jimmy wrong. And then that becomes, the NFL talking points. There's a million different people from Florio right on down, Peter King and everybody else. The talk around the game is so massive, and it's just a growing audience every day. How much that would be low-hanging fruit that everybody would be all over. Did the 49ers do Jimmy wrong? I can see Bayless debating it right now on television with Sharp. You can picture it. They're going to park their media bus right there and debate that forever, and that could be a huge distraction, especially if it's legit. Especially if you've got legit guys with credibility in the room who are like, you know what? I love being a Niner, go Niners, but you know what? We did Jimmy wrong. I don't think that's a narrative that if you're Shanahan or Lynch, you want to take a chance with. So you're gonna have to somehow do this in a if you're gonna release him, he better not be a victim. Otherwise, there's also ramifications to that.
How could he not be, though, at this point? I mean, if he gets cut,
I mean, he would have to take the high road and say, you know what, I have no bad feelings